Welcome in. Happy Columbus Day.
By the way, if you're wondering why you have the day off, it's because a bunch of white males decided to commit genocide. So.
Oh, no. Found the free world.
So thank you, Christopher Columbus, for giving us the day off. We appreciate it. Welcome into the Slobberknocker Sports Podcast, episode number 54. We're here, Columbus Day edition. And we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Wild Week in Sports. And we're going to get to our Brooklyns of the week. We're going to get to our best things we saw this week. We're going to, of course, get to the Dallas Cowboys. I thought about coming in
They're not even a real team.
Yeah, I thought about coming in with a paper bag on my head.
You should have.
I should have done
that. I mean, it's funny because they somehow have 3 wins, but...
They really should have 1 win, if we're being honest. I mean, they were a play away from dropping the ball last week.
I wonder what old Jerry had to say when he marched down the locker room yesterday.
Oh, we're going to watch it in a second. We're going to watch it. I know, I have it up, right? Oh. It's good. I'm going to put it on here. Let's... where do we want to go first here? Oh, before we get into the episode, let me gotta give a couple of shout outs here. Shout out to, so I was looking at the comments the other day, hadn't looked at them in a while, and
is my brother still talking shit on there?
No, every single week. Yeah, that's a given. And I like his comment and then respond every week.
That's good.
No, it's good. It's great for engagement. Thank you, Jeremiah. We appreciate the comments. You can keep talking shit about me. I actually really enjoy it. But also on there, I saw a guy comment named Jack Casey. It said like Jack Casey official. And it said he was watching the show for a while and he liked it and he was a fan of the show. And I was like, I know that name from somewhere. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And finally I figured out that I used to coach, I used to train kids. Yeah. And so I used to train some of these Alamo Heights kids basketball wise. And Jack was a kid I trained. And I looked on there, and he's got a bunch of followers on Instagram, and he's a musician and talented kid. So just wanted to shout Jack out. Thanks for commenting and watching the show and being a fan. We appreciate it. Cool kid. Used to coach him in Alamo Heights. Then also shout out Josh Benitez, because Josh Benitez has been a supporter of the show for a while, and he said something about wanting a shout out on the comments. So I'm just giving shout outs left and right here. I'm a nice guy.
I like you, Josh, but your fantasy football team needs to start losing. You're too good.
No, I told you what we should have done. I should have done
over a good team.
I should have dropped my team, gave that team to Josh, and taken over Carl's team. That's what I should. I can't believe.
What did? Well, we can talk on that all, but no one really cares probably about our inside outs or our fantasy league. But I was about to say, on the way over here, I read that you said Will was up to no good, and I was like, what is Will doing?
I also ran into Nick Davis. Shout out Nick Davis and his uncle Jeff. If you're injured in an auto or commercial vehicle accident, call the fours. They're here for you. Jeff Davis, 444-4444. And we are going to hopefully secure sponsorship soon. It's coming. It'll be.
I don't know
soon.
What else we can do.
Look, I have to say is, what if we tattoo
444 across the forehead?
I did.
That would actually be hilarious. Just get like those, like a henna tattoo of the 4s across.
You just gave me a great idea for a costume next week.
Perfect.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, let's get into this. We're going to go to our Brooklyns of the week, and I'll start. Okay, I'm actually going to go with Brooklyns here. All right, I don't know if that's illegal. Can we do Brooklyns?
I guess. I don't think she would like it. I think she would want you to commit to one person, but that's just me.
Look, this is my show.
It's
I can do whatever I want.
But Brooklyn wouldn't like this. But go on.
It was actually I'm getting off track here. I keep digressing. I'm ADD this morning, but I've been beeping out our and I don't
even say them anymore.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, I can guarantee you do, because you were the first one to say it last week, and I missed that one. So I was rewatching the show, because I always rewatch it, and I had beeped them all out, and the very first one you said it.
You should only beep yours and just leave mine in.
That's actually pretty funny. I like that. That's a good idea.
My nieces would be so disappointed.
Actually, I'm going to do that just to spite you for you blaming me for all this. It's
a great idea.
You won't be able to not say no F words the whole time, I don't think. Okay.
No, probably not.
Okay.
Especially when I've been drinking.
Yeah, down a couple of those. Brooklyn of the week, Brooklyn's, okay? Number 1, if you didn't watch the UT-OU game, you didn't miss much except for a UT beatdown of OU, because Oklahoma's so bad.
This guy was complaining. I mean, I got, for the people at home, maybe like 30 text messages in the first quarter when it was 3-0. I'm like, trying to enjoy late time with the family. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, yeah, Texas is really going to struggle with this game. The next time I look at the score, You can always tell how the game's going by Dylan text messages. He hadn't texted me again for like 20 minutes, and I was like, okay, UT scored at least twice. It was like 14-3, and then it was 21-3, and then I get something else like Quinn Ewers sucks, whatever, this and that and the other, and that whatever. He sucks, and I was like, it's 21-3, dude. Just relax,
dude. Watch the highlights.
It's gonna be okay.
He's horrible. He threw for 199 yards.
Oklahoma could have played 20 quarters and not scored. How many points did Texas have?
34.
Yeah, they could have played about 16 to 20 quarters.
I'm actually really surprised.
4 full games.
I'm really surprised they didn't put Jackson Arnold back in. That kid, Hawkins, the true freshman, he's a 3-star kid. He is terrible. I know they don't have any wide receivers.
There's something. Yeah. That's the Jackson Arnold was Jeremiah's hot Heisman pick of the year,
there.
And
the worst pick of the year.
He was not happy with me calling him out for that. He was like, it's because he's got no receivers in the offense. Yeah, well, and I was like, yeah, but it is true. But
you picked him for the Heisman, all right? And he doesn't have a starting job anymore. Okay, back to the Brooklyn. In that Texas UT game, which was 3-0 OU after one quarter, there was an awesome play in that game. There's a guy named Silas Bolden. He's the wide receiver for the Longhorns. And early in the game, it was 7-3 Texas in the second quarter, following an OU fumble. And my boy, Trey Wisner, the running back for Texas, the backup running back, he busted a big run. He was about to score, and the ball popped out like at the goal line, and it was rolling towards the back. And it's just, I'll put the play on the screen. It was an awesome play. I'll try to pull it up for you real quick. But he just, everybody gave up on the play except Silas Bolden because it looked like he was going to score. And he just kept running down the field, and the ball pops out, and it's going to the back of the end zone, and he dives on it and saves the touchdown, and it would have flipped the game. I mean, obviously Oklahoma probably still would have lost, but it would have flipped the big momentum of the game. From Texas going up 14-3, it would have been a touchback through the back of the end zone, and he saved the touchdown, running all the way down there for no reason. Hustle play, dove on the ball. It was a gritty play, lots of heart, okay? And he absolutely deserved it.
I don't know if you've seen it, and I don't want to interrupt the second one here, but I'm sure it'll be a shitty Brooklyn anyway. But what I will say is John Gruden is now on TikTok. It's hilarious. I'm not on TikTok. I just see the videos on X or whatever. And he's like, Johnny Gruden, big time football guy. And he just breaks down like these like 30-second clips, but it's like perfect Chucky where he's like, oh, look at this. Look, just getting fired up. And it was a play last week where Zacharias from Washington, there was a fumble 60 yards down the field, and he was blocking on the opposite side of the field. And he's like, look at this young man following the play. He's like, that's why you hustle down the field, losing his mind. He jumped on the fumble. He's like, that's what being a good teammate's about. That's a dog right there, just losing his mind.
That's the Brooklyn. That's what the Brooklyn's all about. That's like gritty, tough, heart. Greg Jennings put the team on your back with a broken leg.
He put the team on his back.
It don't matter.
My brookie is...
Wait, hold on. Let me get my second one real quick. Oh. Trey Wisner. I did a co-Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Trey Wisner, the guy who fumbled the ball, backup running back for Texas. What a monster. He's the best running back Texas has. All right, he ran it. I believe he had 118 yards on 13 carries in that game. Should have had 2 touchdowns. He's a 3-star kid, sophomore, was like the 4th-string running back going into the year, but all the injuries for Texas, he might be the starting running back next week. He has heart. He has toughness. He has grit, and he now has a Brooklyn. All right, go ahead with yours.
Me and Big Dog made a joint selection this week, and it's got to be Caleb Williams
get out
flying over the Atlantic Ocean, going to London.
You're just doing this to piss me off.
Dominating the game. 88 QBR, and Dylan likes to shit on this guy every week. I just looked up the QBR. Go check it out, buddy.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. You know what he is QBR on the year?
Guess what? Guess what he
26.
is? 26. Guess what he is in Europe? 88 QBR. If he played all his games in Europe, there's a first F-bomb of the week.
There you go.
88 QBR, okay? Brooklyn loved that performance. Me and Big Dog loved that performance. Caleb Williams. Man. A Brookie overseas.
I'm not gonna argue with you here. That's a terrible Brooklyn. And
he's a dog.
He had his nails painted in the game.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, at least the thumbnail.
Brooklyn likes that.
No, Brooklyn would be disgusted by that.
Brooklyn can appreciate great style.
No, and you know what? I'm going to come back to him. I've got a new segment called
Caleb Williams is awesome in Europe. Is that the new segment?
No, it's not called Caleb Williams is awesome. It's called no break, quick takes. And I'm going to give my quick 1 minute takes down, and I'm going to talk about Caleb Williams and how much of a bum he is in a second. But I'll save that, okay? Let's go to best thing.
Pretty good over in London.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So good in Europe. Okay. Let's go to
stats don't lie. 88 QBR.
Let's go to best. Yeah, okay. Stats don't lie on the year either then. Let's go to best thing we saw this week. All right. And my best thing I saw this week was, it really isn't the best thing, but it was the funniest thing I saw, was in the middle of the Colorado game. It was Kansas State versus Colorado. Avery Johnson, the quarterback for Kansas State, was sitting on the sideline. It's an away game, and there was a Colorado fan back there chirping at him and asking him if he would take a selfie with him. And he literally took the kid's phone in the middle of the game.
Oh, yeah, I saw it. He was on the bike.
Took a selfie with the kid.
Yep.
And then a coach came over and said something to him, and he basically was like, "F you, I'm going to do whatever I want." Like, literally, I was like, I can't believe could you imagine back in the day, Mac Brown or Nick Saban, somebody doing that on the sideline? They would absolutely lose their mind. Welcome to the new world of NIL, where we have that happening. The stuff we saw this weekend, you got the whole Colby Young situation in Georgia where he beat his pregnant girlfriend. And
how about old Kirby Smart giving a little...
I saw that.
A little bump to that Mississippi State kid.
Do you think he deserves to be suspended for that? Yes.
Yeah.
Say it. Yes.
Yeah. I just saw it. I saw it like... I didn't see... Listen, the context of it doesn't matter, right? But
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. But he did... I was like, what, did I see that right? And he pushed it. Brandon Walker, who's a Mississippi State fan, was like, if he's not suspended for at least 2 weeks or he doesn't send me $250,000, I'm not stopping until. He should get suspended for that.
He's not.
You can't have coaches walking up. There's a zoomed in pushing the guy.
I mean, he's not going after that coach.
Did he get flagged?
No, dude, he didn't flag him.
I don't know if that was a good acting job at the end there, acting like he was going after the coach. I think he pushed him and was like, oh, shit, I better yell at this coach. Yeah, I don't know.
That's what everybody says. Oh, he's going after the coach. No, he wasn't.
I don't know. But yeah,
he went directly to the player.
He should be suspended the game for that.
100%.
Georgia's a f***ing.
But Colby Young.
Inmates are running the asylum.
Literally. I mean, they're speed racing down over there. Speed racing down the street at 190 miles an hour, aggravated speeding, DUIs, beating pregnant girlfriends.
Brother.
It's called living.
L-I-V-I-N.
No, that is not. Do not quote Matthew McConaughey for Georgia's football team.
Called living.
No, that's not called living. And by the way, we also saw in an Ohio State game a kid from Oregon spit on a kid from Ohio State. I mean,
I missed that.
The stuff going on in college football now is out of control.
I like the intensity, though. I missed it.
Just give your best thing this week.
I like the intensity.
Go ahead.
Best thing this week, Dan Campbell lining up 300-pound lineman up at receiver while beating the Cowboys by a cool 40 burger.
Hook and lateral.
Yeah, that's just talk about just a slap in the face. It's so great. After they lost that close game last year, there you could tell that revenge was on their mind. I think that I agree with some people that are like, I hate the revenge game thing, but they did come into this game with an edge for sure. From last year,
they were trying to get an offensive lineman to score because of how the game ended last year.
No, for sure. That's what I mean. So they came in obviously ready to go, and it showed. Dak Prescott still just makes that. I mean, not to say that the game would have been much different, but when they drove right back down the field and he threw that interception, anyway, the $60 million a year man is not looking good.
Dude, we're gonna get back to them in a little bit, but no, yeah, like it was 40 to 9. You're in the fourth quarter. You pretty much pull your guys at that point. And after the interception, tackled on the 1 yard line, they don't even just run the ball. They threw a touchdown, which, by the way, Dave Portnoy had like an 11-1 parlay that like 50,000 people had tailed, and it had basically lost at that point because nobody else had. They weren't going to throw the ball the rest of the game. But that pick,
Ben Johnson will.
He had to have. It had to be a Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown, and he caught that touchdown.
That's
crazy, and it hit that 11-1. Anyway,
crazy.
Okay. We're gonna do. I have also one more news segment I want to do here. It's called Coach Leak's Dumb or Dumbest Coaching Decision of the Week. And so we're going to go to Tennessee, to Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. where the Florida Gators were taking on the Tennessee Volunteers.
Yep.
And Florida goes into the game. They're 17-point underdog. 17-point underdog. Okay? They're on the road. They're up 10-0 when their starting quarterback, Graham Mertz, who neither of us really like, but he's better than the backup, gets injured, right? They actually should have been up 17-0 because they fumbled on the 1-yard line early in the game. But regardless, up 10-0. They blow the lead after Graham Mertz gets injured. DJ Lagway, who's a 5-star kid. Which
I didn't realize Mertz got hurt.
Yeah, and by the way, he got hurt on the touchdown pass that put him up 10-0. But the fact that, like, it's funny how these kids get these 5-star designations. Like, all the 5-star kids in college football right now suck. Like, the quarterbacks. I don't understand how would this kid, DJ Lagway, is a 5-star because he's a good athlete? He can't throw the ball.
That's the problem.
I don't understand how they rank these kids. Anyway, regardless, he's in the game, right? They cannot move the ball with him in the game. They cannot score. They do not score the entire game. They get down 17-10 after being down or up the entire game. Final drive. They drive down the field. And DJ Lagway finally makes one good throw, and they score a touchdown with 29 seconds to go. They are down 16-17. They had scored the touchdown, and there's 29 seconds to go. Tennessee's probably not going to be able to get into field goal range here. So you have a chance on the road. Neyland Stadium, one of the toughest places to play in the country. True freshman backup quarterback. You're a 17-point underdog. And you're sitting there and you can go for 2 and they'll win. And Billy Napier, whose job is on the line this year, make no mistake about it, his job is on the line, trots out his regular group to go for 2. Tennessee calls timeout. And after the timeout, he decides, you know what? Just kidding. We're going to kick the extra point. And he kicks the extra point as the worst team on the road with all those things going against him. And they go to overtime. And they don't even make a field goal on their first drive, and Tennessee walks into the end zone and wins the game.
That just means he just had belief in his team to win it in OT.
Well, how did it work out?
No.
Did you text me that was the dumbest decision ever? Could you not believe he went for 2?
Maybe.
Yeah, you did. I mean, it was absolutely idiotic.
Best coaching decision I've seen this week. We'll go with that. Dan Lanning with the master class throwing a 12th man out there.
I saw that. What? Explain it again.
Oh no, it's brilliant. So what you do is, you have a cornerback literally on the white right when the snap's about to start. You run them into the game, so you're not going to give up a big play. You have an extra man out there, an extra corner. That's the theory. And he thought probably 5 seconds was going to come off the clock. Only 4 seconds came off the clock, and it gave him 5 yards. So then you only have one play after that.
Yeah.
That rule will get revisited in the offseason.
Exactly.
And the new rule will be like, the clock will return to where it was if you do that. Yeah.
You get 5 yards and the clock goes back because that's complete bullshit.
It's great. Great decision.
It was smart. It was very smart by Dan Lanning to do that, but it's just a dumb rule that they're able to do it.
Yeah, they just haven't revisited that.
Yeah.
So when they heard they had 12 and I saw Ryan Day losing his mind over there, I was like, oh, I think he did it late. That's really, really smart because obviously if there's 12 in the formation,
they'll just shut it down.
Correct. But right when the motion happened, and they snapped, he ran onto the field.
That's smart.
It's like the 12th man, baby.
I saw that as well, but yeah, that was a huge play.
I mean, there's probably a lot of people who are like, oh, it's, I get both sides of it. It's kind of it's kind of against the spirit of the game, I would say.
I would do it.
No, I mean, it's win at all costs. Listen, Ryan Day would have done it. If he would have thought of it, he would have done it 110 times out of 100.
I used to find any edge I could. We used to be out of timeouts at the end of a game in high school basketball. The clock runs, and I would tell my kids if we scored, like,
take a delay game.
You just kick the ball out of bounds and take a delay game. And it's like, yeah.
And another thing, the reason Dan Lanning is such a good coach, I know you don't know this, he coached at Sam Houston State for 1 year.
Wait, did he actually?
Yes, he did.
Was he
13-14 season? He was DBs. I think it was like DBs and like running game coordinator. And then he went to Bama, I think, as a grad assistant.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and neither did I. I was watching that little special they did about, it was a good ESPN special on him. Because Game Day was there, right?
Yeah.
That's why they did it. So anyway, his wife, they're talking about his wife got cancer and she's in remission now. She's doing much better. But in the old pictures, I saw him in a Sam Houston State polo. I was like, what in the world? I guess he coached there. Yeah, he was there 1 year. So
I did. Yeah, I had
learned
no idea.
Everything he knew from Casey Keeler.
That's right. That's why Sam Houston State Bearcats 5-1, baby. Or are they 6-1? I think they're 5-1.
5-1. Big game Wednesday.
Okay, big
against
game
the Hilltoppers.
Western Kentucky. Okay. What's the line on that game?
I'm looking at it right now. 3.5.
Who's favored?
Sam at
home.
Yeah.
So they're basically they're basically
under
even.
the lights, Bauer Stadium.
Wait, that game's when?
Wednesday night.
You're going to that or no?
Hopefully.
Right? Yeah. All right, we're gonna do before we move on to the NFL. Let's do some trivia. We'll do our trivia of the week.
I'm gonna go 100.
Okay.
100%.
These are actually pretty tough.
Oh, well then I won't.
Actually, I think you might go over.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
No, maybe not. Maybe not.
So now I just need to guess what
I think you might get this first one because they
How many
talked about
questions
this.
are there?
3. But one of them's tough. One of them is like a multi-part answer. So
okay.
there were
so
3...
I thought we were thinking true or false. I was like, okay.
No, true.
Yeah.
You don't get
what
true or
year?
false. Yeah. No, there were 3 teams who going into this week had yet to trail in a football game all season. Can you name all 3 of those teams?
At college football?
Yeah, and they said them on the broadcast.
I didn't see it, but I can tell you, I know for a fact that Ohio State is not one of them because they went down 3-0 to Akron or whoever they were playing. Because we were watching that, I was like, 3-0 Akron. The kid hit like a 55-yard field goal. So not Ohio State.
Ohio State. I can give you a hint if you want.
Texas hasn't trailed all year.
That's one. Now, they did trail against OU in this, so I said going into this week.
Oh,
so
going into this week.
But you got it. That's one.
Yeah.
No. Going into this week, they had not. They're the only one. Now, the other 2 did not trail this week. One of them did not play, and the other one led the entire game. You want the conferences?
How about, I have a feeling one of them's Army or Navy.
You're right. One of them's Army.
Okay.
So I'll give you that.
Yeah. So one of the service
There's one
academies.
more. You want the conference?
Were they off this week?
Yeah, they were off this week. You want the color of the school?
No, I'll get it. Actually, you're not giving me. You're giving off vibes where it's like, yeah, this is going to be a tough one to get. Yeah, give me a conference.
Big Ten.
Penn State.
Indiana. Penn State trailed the whole game against USC this week.
But this week, I thought you said coming.
Oh, you're right. You're right. But it was still Indiana. It was still Indiana.
Okay,
I don't know.
Penn State must have
trailed at some.
Yeah.
Oh, Penn State trailed the Bowling Green earlier this year. That's who they trailed to.
Got it.
But no, it was Indiana. Indiana didn't play this week. They're still undefeated. Okay, you got 2 of the 3. That's pretty good. That's hard. Okay, here we go. Here's a tougher question.
No.
I'm going to give you the conferences for these though. There are 11 teams undefeated left in college football. Can you name all 11? Okay, and we'll go by conference. Say ACC, there are 2. Can you name the 2 ACC teams that are undefeated?
Miami's
one,
and
the other one you have to think about.
Oh man, it's Miami and.
Not
trying to think over there. It's got to be
who's undefeated in the ACC.
Clemson lost to Georgia. I'm just going down the list here. SMU's lost a game.
Yep. It's a weird team who you can't, like I was saying, I can't believe they're undefeated. They should have lost multiple
Georgia
games.
Tech's lost.
Yep.
Oh boy. Why can't I think
We'll come back to it.
Yeah, give me a second.
Big 12, there's 2.
My Mormons.
The Mormons, baby.
And Iowa State. Both good teams.
Both good teams. Well, BYU's okay.
Please.
BYU, baby.
A team of Mormons led by a Jew.
BYU.
How could you lose?
I had no idea they called him that, and then apparently he has it like on his actual Instagram. He goes by BYU.
I love it.
Okay, Big Ten. There's 3. We just talked about one of them.
Indiana, Oregon, and Penn State.
Yep, that's all. Okay. SEC. There's 1.
Texas.
American. There's 2.
Navy and Army.
Yep, and then there's 1 Conference USA.
The Conference USA team
should have lost multiple times. We talked about them yesterday. We talked about it together during the week, but not on the show.
Oh, Liberty. Yeah.
Okay, so the last one you have is the 1 ACC team.
It's just going to be annoying. I mean, when you say it.
You want me to tell you?
No, I want to try to get it. Give me 10 seconds, and then you can tell me. The ACC is so random.
You want the colors?
No. It's not Duke. They lost 1 game.
Nope.
Yeah, whatever. Just tell me.
Pittsburgh Panthers.
Yeah,
they won again this week.
I just
should have lost again.
Anytime, and it's so stupid. I think ACC, but anytime I think Pittsburgh, I just think of Big East.
I know. I agree.
I don't even think of them being in ACC.
The other one I was going to give you, but I thought it was going to be way too tough, is I saw a chart today or yesterday, and it was like special teams touchdown, fumble return touchdown, interception touchdown, and it was like a Venn diagram. And the only team that has all 3 the entire year is SMU. SMU has all three: a touchdown on special teams, a fumble return, and an interception.
I was going to guess, I would have guessed Iowa for that one. They're the team that always has those weird touchdowns.
Here's the last question. Diego Pavia, the quarterback for Vanderbilt, my Commodores.
I call him
my Commodores.
I don't mean this in a bad way because I love the way he plays, and I know Johnny Manziel's his favorite player, but he's like the Dollar General Johnny Manziel. And that's not a knock on him. He's a good, solid player. He's very good, but obviously he's not Johnny Manziel. He's like the maybe not Dollar General, discount Johnny, whatever.
Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart, whatever.
Great value. Hill Country Fair.
Gets the job done.
He did not have a single FBS scholarship offer out of high school. He had a partial scholarship to play what sport at Nebraska? Do you know this, Bailey?
A partial scholarship to play what sport?
It wasn't football. It was a partial scholarship to play a sport at Nebraska.
His face and everything, he looks like a wrestler. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. That's a wrestler. That's pretty good.
But I'm
pretty good there.
I'm surprised that that's what it is because Nebraska, to get a partial scholarship to Nebraska wrestling, I believe Nebraska has a good wrestling program, so he must have been a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
So that's why I was that's why I almost didn't guess wrestling because those schools typically don't get full rides for wrestling except the big ones like the Penn State. Nebraska is a bigger one, but yeah, that's still impressive. Nebraska wrestler.
Okay, we're going to move on, and we're going to go to the NFL. We're going to start with some of the major topics, and we have to start with the Dallas Cowboys, as always, because they're the hot topic. They're the number one topic. And, look, the Cowboys embarrassed themselves yesterday. We just kind of touched on it a little bit, but 47-9. I told you this off air, but, I do my picks on my website, and
how'd you do? I know you won. I know you said you won the Lions, obviously.
I went 2-1 in college and 1-0 in NFL. That's all I had. But I gave out, normally my plays I give out are 2 stars, which is 1% of bankroll. Each star is half percentage of my bankroll. And I gave out this Lions as my play of the year. It was a 5-star, 2.5%, Lions -3.
Well, that worked.
I never thought the Cowboys. I tried to convince Nick almost that we should take the Detroit Lions in our Survivor League, but we ended up going with the Eagles, who we're going to come back to as well. But regardless, okay, Dak Prescott goes 17 of 33 for 178 yards and 2 interceptions. He had an 11.4 QBR and a 42.1 passer rating. Okay, the Cowboys were outgained by almost 250 yards by over 3.5 yards per play. Okay, they got inside the 20 of the Lions 3 times and came away with a total of 3 points. This was actually the funniest thing I've ever seen. In Dallas was down 34-6. They're down 28 with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. And Mike McCarthy on 4th and 10 on the 32-yard line kicked a field goal. He kicked a field goal.
That. You clap it up. Tell your boys it's a good drive.
Jason Garrett shit right there.
Yeah, I love it.
And my dad goes, it's probably for morale. Probably for morale. I go,
it is.
What is that? You're down 28, go to 25. I'm playing Ryan in fantasy. He's got Brandon Aubrey. I'm like, they really just kicked a fucking field goal right there? Yep. Are you kidding me?
Take the points.
Unbelievable.
It's a good coach.
But look, it was one of the more embarrassing games I've seen from the Cowboys in years. It was one of the worst performances I've seen from Dak Prescott. Maybe the worst ever.
He takes way too many fights. Just throw the ball into the ground.
Thank you.
He drives me nuts. Like the one part of the game I did see, like, listen, they were already getting shellacked at this point, but whatever his name, Turpin brought it out from like 9 yards deep in the end zone and faked that reverse, and he got all the way down to the 24. And I was like, well, Dallas gets it in the end zone here. The game's still probably
28
over.
Seconds to go in the first half.
And they were at the 30-yard line. I was like, they got to score a touchdown here. And of course, Dak Prescott gets sacked
on
for
the
like
first
a 10-yard loss. And I was like, well, there goes that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, I get sometimes you have to eat it and take a sack, but in that, it's just throw the ball down at somebody's feet or launch it out of bounds. And
he got sacked at least 4 times or 3 or 4 times yesterday. It was the interceptions. He had 2. He had a third one called back for a penalty, so he actually really threw 3.
Yeah, I completely. Full honesty here, at halftime, I stopped watching that one.
Well, I don't blame you at all. I enjoyed watching the whole thing. I was also hoping, as a guy who had Dak Prescott on his fantasy team, that he would get some garbage time touchdown against a bad secondary.
Like he did against the Ravens.
Yeah, and he finished with
like
3.
He played okay.
3 fantasy points is what he finished with. It was pathetic. But look, And we're gonna listen real quick to what Jerry had to say about the game.
Talking about dicks.
Yeah, no, not this time. But real quick before I go to Jerry, where do the Cowboys go from here? Do they? What do you even do? I mean, it feels like they're doomed.
They are.
But like
they f***ed themselves in the offseason by signing all these guys.
But is this just
to be fair though? Like I said when we talked about it, I said I don't know what they do because they're not. Those guys are not going to get any I guess CeeDee Lamb in the offseason, you could try to, get something for, obviously, now that he has a long-term deal or whatever. But
yeah.
I don't know. I just thought they were damned if they did, damned if they don't. Because it's like, if they sign the guys, it's going to be a cluster. And if they don't, it might be even worse. So
But imagine they didn't sign these guys, right? Let's say, for example, the Cowboys decided they're not going to pay either CeeDee Lamb or Dak Prescott. And this plays out the exact same way. Now you look at it and you're like, okay, at least at this point, we're like, why would we ever keep Dak at this point for $55, $60 million? Now you can look and say, look, the guy he's 25th in the NFL in QBR. He's 24th in passer rating. He's 23rd in completion percentage. He's second in the NFL in interceptions with 6.
It's weird though, right? The thing I'd say is I'd say this. They're what? 5 or 6 games in? What are they? 5 or 6?
3 and 3, 6 games in.
Okay, so they're 6 games in. We were talking about this last year, like the world was ending, and in the last 12 weeks of the season, he almost won MVP.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. I mean, they looked, I remember last year, I don't know if they looked this bad, but they were not good. Like to start the season, he wasn't this bad, I would say. But to finish the last 12 games of the year, he was unbelievable.
He was unbelievable.
So, and then obviously shit his pants, as your dad says, many seizures in the playoffs.
My dad was going crazy with the mini seizures yesterday.
He's got mini seizures.
Look at his eyes. There go his eyes. They're like twitching.
Who said that? That is it like Colin?
No, dude. He made that shit up.
Oh, that was him making it up.
He made that shit up.
That makes sense. And by the way, the biggest douche award in America goes to Colin Coward this week, who's dressed up like he's Liberace at some whatever they're called, where it like looks like you're at the game and it's a bar or whatever, and he's talking shit to everybody in the Big Ten, going, I told you about USC. Talking just like that. I told you about Lincoln Riley. These big dog, too physical, like whatever they're losing, lose the game. Oh, just absolute classic.
Some of you guys are going to owe Lincoln Riley an apology. I don't know if these Big Ten teams can handle coming out west, the sunshine, the distractions of LA. Probably not. Look at the halftime score on it, Cosm. Oh, they're in a commercial. Whatever. I don't hold grudges. Apologies accepted.
Shooting your mouth off before the game's over. Like, you're really going to shoot your mouth off? Like, it's like you're acting like it's USC back with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush, okay? Yeah. They're a little bit different.
You're acting like that was Alabama with a 14-point lead back in 2012.
If you can get, the people should see that video, too, if you can find that one.
It's Colin Coward?
Yeah, it's like a 30-second clip.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You sent it to me.
Such an idiot. It's your dad's boy.
No, he's
Colin. You see what Colin said this week? I'm like, nope. I have no idea what Colin said.
Colin is not my favorite. I'm not a fan of him. He's also a known Russell Westbrook hater, but that's beside the point. Let's listen.
Dressing like Liberace on the sidelines.
What game was he at again?
Colorado game.
Oh, that's right, dude. Okay. By the way, and I'll get back to Colorado in a little bit.
Now let's see what Jerry.
Okay, so listen to Jerry. Let's listen to Jerry real quick.
Jerry.
This was very concerning, and it was very humbling, and it was very. I felt bad because of all of our great fans, and especially the ones in this stadium. This was a shocker. I thought we would do a lot of things better in that football game, and I think we can.
Jerry's only ever fired one coach.
There was one more part of it that I didn't actually play.
Both those guys.
No, I hate both these guys too.
Florio and Sims.
Dude,
Chris Sims. Worse.
Chris Sims looks like a neo-Nazi out there, dude.
Oh, yeah.
He looks like a Nazi. I'm serious. Last night
I was saying that last week. I was like, look at that guy. He's just missing the uniform.
You did. You said it. Like, I mean, he's literally
look at
putting
that high and tight cut.
I know. No,
next thing you know, he's going to be asking for people's papers on the sideline.
I was trying to pull it up because they played it on First Take this morning, and normally I don't watch it, but I wanted to see like just what their topics were.
Yeah.
And so basically, Jerry was like asked, he was like, are you considering a coaching change middle of the season? And he's like, no, let me make this very clear right now. Let me make this very clear. I'm not looking to make a coaching change, right? Do you think I'm an idiot? You think I'm an idiot? He asked him that. He's like, no, sir. He's like, yeah, because I'm not an idiot. I'm never making a coaching change, all right? Is that clear? I'm going to make that clear. Like, literally, if you were the Cowboys, I guess it makes sense because who are you going to promote, right? Like, are you going to promote Mike Zimmer right now to head coach? That would be a disaster. I can't even tell you who the offensive coordinator is right now because Mike McCarthy calls the plays. So I don't know who the special teams coach is a disaster. I think you just stick it out and maybe you just lose a bunch of games, worst case scenario, and you get a high draft pick and, maybe help out that offensive line that looks like it's, one of the worst in the league, if we're being honest.
Yeah. They need to get. The thing is, I feel like even last year, they spent a first-round pick on offensive line. So it's just...
And he was terrible. He's been terrible.
No, I agree. They're missing on most picks.
But at least, I guess, that one was a late pick. It was a late first-round pick.
I mean, listen, at least they're not missing like the Giants. Okay?
No, I agree with that.
No one in the history of the world has missed on more top 10 linemen than the Giants. I mean, every single one of those guys turned out to be hot garbage. Horrible. Like, in New York, such a... with the fans, it really is a tough place to play. They hadn't scored an offensive touchdown at home in 10 quarters until they scored last night. 10 quarters.
And they
on the road, they play like fine. It's because Dimes is just like a nervous wreck at home because everybody's like, anything he does, they lose their mind on him. He's like, it's so much easier to play on the road. If I miss a 5-yard throw at home, they boo the shit out of him.
What's funny, though, is he actually didn't play that bad last night. I thought the play calling was horrific. I thought that was on Daboll last night.
Well, Daboll was weird because he was going for everything last night, which I don't really care because you're the Giants. You suck. Why not? But, I know Joseph missed, and Joseph ended up missing 2 field goals, but I know he had missed the one before, which he should have made. It was like a 43-yarder.
You're talking about the 54-yarder to tie it. You kick it.
Yeah, you kick
100% you kick it.
It's 4th and 3. They're not running it, and you're going to trust Dimes.
You get 3 yards.
Listen, an NFL kicker these days makes 55-yard field goals, or 54, 65% of the time.
Yeah, and you're probably legitimately, with Danny Dimes there and knowing you're going to throw it, you're probably 20 to 30% to convert.
And your defense was playing okay. So it's just
they're playing really good.
Yeah,
I mean, they shut down for the most until that busted run. By the way, what a bad beat there last night for anybody. The Bengals minus 3.5 covered.
Big Cat tweeted, "That's how you score and not slide." He was like, "That's how you do it for America."
What's crazy is so he didn't slide there, right? And goes in and that covered for the Bengals, obviously.
One of my favorite things I saw this week, I forgot too, was the you were losing your mind during it. It was it was after we shot the podcast on Monday because you needed the Chiefs to win for your Survivor League. When Big Dog picked it off in the end zone and gripped that ball, he was like, "I'm scoring this bitch." He awesome. Ran and just ran with just reckless abandon down
that should have been the best thing we saw
that
this week.
That was awesome, dude.
Because that was on Monday. We had already shot.
Just going nuts for him. But it's like, when he picked that thing off, the look in his eyes were like, I'm running this back, baby.
Pretty good.
He's like,
that was
someone got him, but he had a nice little caravan of blockers.
And they said that he used to play running back.
Yeah, you can tell. Homeboy,
he was holding down that ball.
High and tight, brother. High and tight.
3 points. All right. No, but we'll move on real quick I want to talk about the Eagles before we get into some of the good, bad, and the ugly. And so basically, if you didn't watch the game,
I did not.
Well, for
full disclosure,
any of our viewers who didn't watch the game, the Eagles played the Browns. Okay, and the Eagles had outgained the Browns in the first half by 170 yards, and it was 10-0. And then I think the Browns tacked on a field goal, 10-3. Right? Eagles have the ball, driving to score before the end of the half. A bad decision from Jalen Hurts out of a timeout. It was 3rd and 1. You pick up the first down. They had all 3 timeouts. Instead of going for, just handing it to Barkley, getting the 1 yard, taking the timeout, and going from there, he checks the play to a pass. He gets sacked. And on the next play, they have to then kick a field goal, I think it was a 57-yarder. Myles Garrett Clear jumps over the line and blocks the kick. It bounces straight up to a Browns player who then returns it 60 yards for a touchdown. And all of a sudden at halftime, it was 10-10. Well, on the way out, and they were already booing the whole game because the offense was so bad, Jalen Hurts was horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Great player.
Just so
Great
bad.
athlete.
But
leader of men.
They were yelling at Sirianni, chanting, "Fire Nick, fire Nick," at halftime in a 10-10 game.
That's hilarious. I didn't realize that.
So at the end of the game, the Browns end up basically choking it away. Like, the Eagles were up 7, and the Browns had a 3rd and goal at the 3, and false started twice and had to kick a field goal with 5 minutes to go, down by 7, and cut it to 4.
I did see that. I saw the very end.
I mean, the Browns should have scored a touchdown. Deshaun Watson and that team are a disaster. But basically, at the end of the game, I'm going to play it here, Nick Sirianni goes over and starts yelling at the fans in the stands, cursing at the fans in the stands after they were talking shit to him the whole game, after beating maybe the worst team in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns, by 4 at home, and he's talking shit to these guys. I'm going to play it real quick on there.
First of all, the Cleveland Browns with famous Jameis are a solid squad.
If they were to start him,
and they're about to get Chubb back.
Are they actually going to get Chubb back?
Yeah, within the next 2 weeks.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
So what they should do is just get
real quick. Here's the Nick Sirianni.
Oh God, what a loser.
I mean, look at this guy, man. Look at this.
If I was the owner, I'd be like, dude, what's wrong with you,
dude? So then watch.
You're over here talking shit to the fans.
By the way, talk about people who look like neo-Nazis. He shaved his head. Him and Chris Sims could form like a little KKK group if they wanted to. They both look like Nazis. But besides the point, see that? Look what he looks like. Okay, so he then brings his kids into the press conference, all of them,
Smart.
so that they can't ask him about it.
Smart move.
But
that's a good press move right there. Very smart.
They still asked.
No, just excited. Just excited to get the win.
Were fans yelling things at you?
Just excited to get the win. Yeah. It's hard to win in this league, so we're excited to get the win. Our fans created a couple false starts that really helped us win this football game. But just excited to get the win and appreciate the link support. I was having fun, and I kind of got some feedback from the guys, is the sense of like, we need you back, Nick. We need your energy. We need your focus. We need your, like, I've gotten that from a couple players, and you know, when I'm operating and having fun, I think that breeds to the rest of the football team.
So he's basically justifying it, like the guys came up and told him, like, we need you to be that type of fiery guy again. We need more juice. Like, what in the world? You were talking shit after a 4-point win at home over the Browns because they were yelling at you that you need to be fired, and you're embarrassed. That's what's happening here. You brought your kids in to try to deflect. They asked you about it anyway. You tried to deflect again. They kept asking you about it, and you had to answer it. And now you look stupid because and Shannon and Stephen A. Smith said this morning, very unlikely that guys came and said that to him. It sounded like he made that up. Like, people were saying he probably made that up. Nobody came and told him that. And so this guy, I mean, this guy's a clown. And I truly think I would be surprised if he makes it to the end of the year, because I don't think the Eagles are going to win the division. I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders are the only team to make the playoffs.
It's going to be interesting to see if the Eagles do sneak into the playoffs, what they do with him.
I mean, now, that said, they're tied with the Commanders, right? Or they're 3. I think the Eagles are 3-2, and the Commanders are 4-2. They have the same amount of losses, but nobody thinks those teams are on the same level right now. The Eagles look horrible. I mean, just terrible. And I told you, Jalen Hurts, when you take away the best offensive line in football, he has gone from the best offensive line in football to an average offensive line from that Super Bowl run to now.
I haven't seen him play much. The big thing with him is, especially last year, I don't know if they've gotten back to it. Does he run anymore?
Not nearly as much. He thinks he's a quarterback.
Yeah, he's not. Dude, when he's running, when they actually have to account for the run where he's running it half the time, he's a problem to stop, just because you have to account for that. But if he's a straight drop back passer, he sucks.
Okay, let's move on. We're going to go good, bad, and the ugly. We'll try to go through this quickly, okay? So let's go. Number 1 good for me is going to be Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, 21-34, 237 and a touchdown. QBR 74.6.
Ooh.
Helped the Chargers. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Boy, what did you say it was?
The average is 50. He had 74.6.
Yeah. Caleb Williams over in London was 88.
Yeah, against who?
Doug and the you see how good the Jags looked last week?
The Jags looked real good.
Oh, my God.
The Jags looked real good, giving up 34 points to the Colts with Joe Flacco.
Just finish so you know who my number one good is.
Justin Herbert played phenomenal. Helped the Chargers build a 23-0 lead. By the way, with no receivers because they got rid of all their receivers. They have Ladd McConkey.
The Great White Hope.
A white second-round draft pick rookie out there. And Quentin Johnson, who was a week away from being cut last year.
I actually do think the more I watch Ladd McConkey, I'm glad I drafted him. I think he's going to be pretty good.
He's
got
good.
He's got stuff to learn.
No, he's very good.
He's already banged up.
But I just think that was I think Herbert is really, really good. And I think when they find him, not this year, but next year when they go get him a receiver or two or go draft some younger receivers and McConkey develops and they get a couple of guys who he can throw to.
They should go get someone now. They should just go get Amari Cooper. You get him for cheap.
100%.
If you go get Herbert like Amari Cooper, I'm not going to say Devontae Adams because the price is going to be too much, but you can get Cooper for probably relatively cheap, like not a ton of equity. I mean, I would just go get him. He's good.
If you look at that team, the defense is really good.
Yeah.
Herbert's really good.
They're solid.
They're coached well. Yeah, I mean,
playmakers.
Literally yesterday, and this is why I said Herbert, the Denver Broncos defense, and Pat Surtain did get injured in the game, but the Denver Bronco defense was the number one defense in the league going into last yesterday. Yeah. And Justin Herbert torched them with no receivers and was built a 23-0 lead.
He was really good. I watched some of that game, but Surtain going down definitely hurt.
No, for sure. I mean, he's their best secondary piece by far.
Surtain, the more I watch him, I think he might be the best corner in the entire league. He shuts everybody down when he plays.
Phenomenal.
My good, obviously, Caleb. And, I'm not a Caleb guy, but I'm a guy that can admit when someone I don't like has a good game. And he flew over to London. He kicked the shit out of the Jags.
I'm glad you picked this one up.
And he came back.
I'm glad you picked this one because I can rant on this because we skipped my fast takes because we went a little too long. So I'm going to come back to this. So here we go. Caleb Williams. Okay. And I heard, and you're saying this, and I know you're doing it just to troll me.
88 QBR.
I know you're doing this to troll me.
88 QBR.
If you go back and watch the history of the show, Turner has said Caleb Williams is terrible.
But he had a good game this week.
Okay. So
that's why he's my Brookie of the week. So my dog.
He was not gritty. That is a disgrace that you gave him a Brookie. I mean, in fact, I don't even want to put him on the wall of Brookie because he does not deserve.
I wouldn't put him. First of all, he's not going to go.
No,
on the wall.
saying the history of the winners are going to go on the wall of Brookie.
You got to put him up there. Then he played great.
No, he's not. He didn't. It was not a gritty performance. Regardless, okay. I heard people literally comparing him to Jaden Daniels. Like there's an actual debate for Rookie of the Year. Let me tell you something, okay? Chicago. If you watch the last couple games, I don't know if I've seen a quarterback have more time to throw. Number one, they've given him all day to throw. Okay, that's
more of a result of really bad defenses.
Thank you. Playing, so he has DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift. All right, and these are the teams that the Chicago Bears have beaten under Caleb Williams. Okay, they have beaten the Jaguars, the Rams, the Panthers, and the Titans. Do you know what their combined record is? 4-18. 4-18. They have the
32nd on your schedule.
32nd toughest schedule out of 32 teams. Okay, if you take away him playing two of the worst defenses in the league, the Panthers and the Jags, back-to-back weeks, but besides those two games, he has more interceptions and touchdowns. Even including those games, he's still 26th out of 32 quarterbacks in QBR. He's bottom 7 in the league in passer rating. Okay, and on the other side, you have Jaden Daniels, who is 3rd in the league in QBR and has played a much tougher schedule. And it's the fact that we're even talking about Caleb Williams in the same breath as Jaden Daniels after the first 6 weeks is a travesty. It's disgusting. Caleb Williams is a bum. That's why the QBR shows what it shows, which is that he sucks because he does. He's good against bad defenses and he has great receivers and he's getting all day to throw. Congratulations. Keep painting your nails, okay? And keep going out there. By the way, the next 3 weeks don't get any tougher, okay? It's like they literally have the biggest joke of a schedule I've ever seen.
Here we go.
They play the Commanders defense, the Cardinals, and the Patriots the next 3 weeks. Then the last 6 games, they're going to literally lose.
Looks like the Bears are going to the playoffs.
Prediction. No, they're not because they don't play a divisional game yet.
Looks like the Bears are going to the playoffs.
They still have to play the Lions twice, the Vikings twice, the Packers twice, San Francisco on the road, and Seattle. They will lose all 8 of those games.
Caleb and the boys. First of all, they're not going to lose all 8
They will.
of those.
Want to bet?
That they lose all 8?
Yeah.
Sure.
How much?
Whatever you
I
want.
want 15-1.
No. It's probably it's probably about
No, I think they're
lose all those games. Probably
think they're
about 7-1. They probably could.
Oh, I think it's probably like more than that. I think they'll go like 2-6.
Who did you say? Well, I was gonna say they would go 2-6 or 3-5.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna lose. They're not gonna beat Detroit either time. They're probably not gonna beat Minnesota either time. They might beat Green Bay one of the two, and then they'll probably beat Seattle at home.
It's crazy they haven't played any division games.
No, 0, and they don't play any until the last 8
Might
weeks.
be a NFL conspiracy. Why are the
Okay.
Bears not playing any games early?
My good number 2 is Drake May. Started his first game yesterday. Look, he wasn't phenomenal by any means. He turned the ball over a bunch. But look, he's playing with literally the worst supporting cast in the NFL. He's thrown in there with probably the worst offensive line. He threw it 20 for 33, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, did throw 2 interceptions. Wasn't elite by any means, but that offense is absolutely horrific. Historically bad offensive line, no wide receivers, no running backs. Threw for more yards and more yards per pass and the same amount of touchdowns as C.J. Stroud yesterday. Okay, and they scored more points than they did the entire season. So you can say he sucks, but he made some really good throws yesterday, and he played well. And to me, it was a good. I think if they actually build around him and get a decent coach, that they'll actually win some games. I don't think he's great by any means yet, but I was impressed with what I saw. I'm telling you, put Caleb Williams on that Patriots team, he would literally not survive a game. He wouldn't survive one game.
Caleb's tough, dude. Drake May.
Tough, yeah.
Drake May is. I agree with you. I think he's actually going to be pretty good. But yeah, the team is just.
Do you think he played pretty well yesterday or no?
He played okay. He just did what a rookie quarterback first. He just turned the ball over too many times. I mean,
but he did make some really good throws.
He had some good.
great
Yeah,
throws.
he had some good throws and some bad ones. But yeah, no, I think he was fine. You're a noted Texans hater. I think the Texans are finding a way. Listen, the Texans are scary good when Mixon is playing. Mixon's unbelievable. Mixon's the best running back in the league. This stat wise, he was out 2 games. But the games that he's actually played,
he's been really good.
He's been unbelievably good.
I think Derrick
You
Henry's
actually put him behind an offensive line that's serviceable, and not the Bengals. And look what he does.
No, he's really good, and I can't believe the Bengals let him go. He was willing to take less money to stay there, and they literally. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking.
He's in a much better situation now. Texans are just worrisome with all their injuries and Nico Collins, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Anyway, you have any more good, or you want to go to bad?
Let's just go to bad. Let's move on.
All right. You want to start or me?
I'll start with my Jacksonville Jaguars. Flew across the pond where they usually have great success. They're home away from home and got the doors blown off them by the freaking Bears. I mean, the game wasn't even close. That is one of the games I watched because it was just before I say I watched it. I watched it up until like the first drive of the third quarter and just it was over at that point.
Bad.
But yeah. So they're just I'm surprised. The only reason they haven't fired Doug is because they have another game over there. They got to wait.
That's exactly why.
They got to wait for him to come back. I was like, I'm surprised Doug still has a job. And I was like, oh wait, they're playing a doubleheader. They're going to wait for him to get back.
I thought about that in the middle of the game. I was like, okay, he's gone. I was like, oh no, he's got one more week.
But the one thing I will say is, aren't they playing like the Pats or something?
Yeah, they're playing the Pats.
Okay,
and it's the second game in London, which is a big advantage.
Big advantage.
You think if they win, he doesn't get fired?
Well, I don't know. If they lose, he's for sure getting fired, obviously. But it does. I think he would have gotten fired after this week, just regardless.
If they would have been in London.
In the state. No, like in the States.
Yeah,
like
if they wouldn't have been in London. Yeah.
And so now that he has this chance, maybe they just beat the Pats, but the Pats are Pats. So they beat the Pats by like 20, and then, which I don't necessarily think will happen, but if they do, then it could essentially save his job.
Maybe.
But I mean, they're just the Jags are not bad on paper, so they're just underperforming.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's like if they had
it's not like they're the Patriots, right? They're not a bad team.
Exactly. That's why he deserves to be fired. It's like the Bengals. Like it doesn't make any sense that the Bengals are 1-4 going into the last night and almost lost to the Giants.
They're finding ways to lose.
Right. It's like you can't do that. And Trevor Lawrence is just as much to blame, in my opinion, as Doug Peterson, Super Bowl champion and author. But yeah, I think they've both been terrible. Okay, I'll go with my bad, and I had the Jags on here as well. We touched on it. Brian Daboll, just in general, the decision making, like you said, he went for it all night, 4th down, and then you're finally in field goal range, down 3 late in the game. it's 4th and 3. We mentioned this. You kick the field goal and tie the game, And
it is an interesting one, though, just because the only reason I say it's interesting is because he did go, not to say that I agree with it, right? But he literally did go for anything 4th or 3 or less from even on his own 40-yard line.
Sure.
So I guess he's thinking, in that situation, I may have come to the same conclusion of going for it, only because if you do get it, right, there was like 3 minutes or like 3.5 minutes left in the game.
Exactly 3 minutes.
So if you do get it, and that's a big if, obviously, but you can score a touchdown and basically, they're not going to have any time left.
Yes, they're going for the win.
And if you, I'm willing to bet that the analytics in that spot, with it being a 55-yard field goal, said go for it.
No, it did. They showed it.
For sure. Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah, they showed
so I
it.
assume it said go for it. It's just obviously with Danny Dimes. I think the one thing I will say is if the kid, Joseph, would have made that field goal earlier, I think he does kick it. Like, just a field goal at any point.
Right.
Because they had a new holder, too.
Yeah.
And the announcer actually was pretty funny how they had the inside info. It was like, shows you about weird inner circles in sports. Like, he's known as a good holder in the punting world.
I
like,
heard
the
that.
like, and it is true. Those guys will be able to, like, Jay Feely or like McAfee will know. He's like, oh yeah, he's a good punter, but he's a good holder too.
Yeah,
He knows what he's doing. He's a good holder. And the hold was clean. And then you could see them talking to each other on the bench. And it was because some guy, what will happen is when someone comes off the edge, they'll try to, they'll move their body a little bit thinking it's going to get blocked. And that caused, like a golf shot hook on it.
Right.
Because it looked right down the middle and it just tailed off.
Both of them did.
Yeah.
Both of them did.
I didn't see the second
The
kick.
second one did the exact same thing. But the other, look, Brian Daboll, the reason I actually, besides that decision, like that decision was bad, but I just hated the play calling all night.
Yeah.
Because you're playing a defense that is prone to giving up explosive plays.
And they just dinked and
And
dunked
they dinked and dunked all night. I mean, they had given up 35-plus points per game and over 450 yards per game the last 3 games, and you scored 7 points on that team. I mean, that just can't happen. And you cannot, like, I get it. They didn't have, like, a ton of weapons, but it was just so frustrating to watch Danny Dimes drop back. And it's not like he was getting pressured crazy and he couldn't. They weren't getting a ton of pressure.
He
was still getting sacked. And
holding the ball forever.
Holding the ball too long. And they were just, everything was a short 3 to 5 yard route. Even like downs where it was like 3rd and 8, he was throwing it short of the sticks. It was so frustrating to watch. And then at the end of the game, you're going to lose anyway. You cover for the boys, man. You're down 10. You've been covering the whole game, and you go try to score a touchdown.
What was the spread on it?
It was 3.5. And so when Chase Brown scored that touchdown, they were not covering anymore. And you go and settle for the field goal. No, you go score the touchdown for the boys. You cover the number, and you get out of Dodge. All right, with a 3-point loss.
Dimes has just got to be, and I don't watch him play a ton, but as a fan base, it's like if you're Brian Daboll, just like the most frustrating person on earth to deal with, because it's like he makes some okay plays, he moves okay. But it's like the one drive that they had in the first quarter was like they had everything going right. They picked up a 4th down. They're inside the 10, and he drops. He rolled right to begin with, and his first read was a guy in the flat that he left the read way. I mean, he broke open. Like he needed to stay on him. He had time to get him the ball.
Right.
They showed the replay. Then he rolled back in the pocket for whatever reason, and then threw a jackpot ball up in the middle that got picked by the Bengals, and it could have been picked off by 5 different guys.
Yeah.
There was no one around. Right when it went up in the air, it was like, oh boy. And I was like, oh yeah, 5 different guys could have picked it off. It was like a punt from the 18-yard line, but he just does some bonehead shit. And he's been around too long to be doing it. I mean, it's just, he did barely miss on a couple long throws. The two throws that I remember them actually going deep on, the guys were open and he missed them by like a foot.
Yeah, he did. I agree with that.
He missed them by like a foot. They weren't really bad throws. It just barely missed.
Let's go to the ugly.
Yeah.
I'll go with Bo Nix. And look, if you look at the stat line at the end of the game, it's going to look like he had a good or decent game. Like I think he finished like a 50 QBR, right around average. He had over 200 yards passing, completed like 55 or 60% of his passes. But they had 0 points through 3 quarters. And going into the 4th quarter, Bo Nix was 4 of 14 with 27 yards and an interception. I mean, I'm talking about one of the worst stat lines through 3 quarters I've ever seen. And this isn't something that's happening in a vacuum, right? This is happening over and over.
Well, he'll never set that first half again.
But think about
the negative 7.5 yards is the most wild
on
stat.
7 completions.
Yeah, he completed 7 times. Too.
7 completions for negative 7 yards.
That'll never happen again.
Unbelievable.
It'll never happen.
But my point being is you have that, and then you take another performance where you have 3 quarters and you throw for 27 yards. Like, literally, the only time that he's completing passes is when teams are in complete drop coverage like the Chargers were because they were up so many points. They just didn't want to give up a big play, which I don't know why you would ever think you're going to give up a big play to Bo Nix. But I think legitimately it's hard to say because there's been such bad quarterback play this year, but he really might be the worst quarterback in the NFL in terms of like moving the football. Like, they can't move the football for 80% of the time they have. It's hard to watch. They cannot move the ball. They need like a break or two to go their way to have a chance to even move the football. Like, they cannot get a first down unless there's a specific set of circumstances. And I don't get the move. They don't understand why they're throwing Bo into the fire. This is going to end badly in Denver. And the fact that they're 3-3, good for them. They have the best defense in the league right now.
The Broncos are 3-3.
Yeah, dude, they were 3-2 going into this week.
It's the worst 3-3 team in the history.
The Bears
of the
are
game.
4-2. They're the worst 3-4-2 team I've ever seen. They beat the Titans with 138 yards.
No, it's still more. I get that they had that one, but it's still more impressive that the Broncos are 3-3. Bo Nix. I mean, listen, I know you're not a Caleb guy, and
no, I agree.
I am trolling, but
thank you.
But, well, not this week. He was great this week.
No, he wasn't great this week.
88 QBR.
Okay. We fucking get it. He had a fucking 88 QBR.
Thank you. Just give credit where credit's due. That's all I'm asking.
It's not, you don't get credit for doing that against the Jaguars.
I mean, you can only play who's on the field.
I could throw the ball against the Jaguars.
No,
I could put up a 47
let's not
QBR.
Get carried away. Jeremiah could get a 50 QBR. Lefty quarterback.
Lefty quarterbacks have no souls. Go ahead.
They really don't. Dak Prescott was horrible.
Is that your ugly?
Yeah. I mean, he was, from what I saw, just
it was disgusting.
Turning over the ball, missing throws, not on the same page with his receivers. And I really don't even give a shit about the Cowboys, but it was bad.
Yep. It was real
And then
bad.
the Cowboys fans have resorted to, it's good to see that, like, old Cowboys fans like your dad, who's weak, used to be ruined when the Cowboys lose, that they just know that they suck now, and it's not the 90s. What happened was they were dominant in the 90s, right? So then, like, you know, the first 10 years of the 2000s, people like your dad and whatever would, like, lose their mind when they lost. And now they just realize, hey, we haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years, 30 plus years. We suck. So they're getting on with their lives and they're, enjoying they're laughing through the pain. Yeah, but I guarantee Big Dog was listening to Cowboys radio after the game.
No, he definitely was.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally went in there to talk to him about something and he was like, hold on, I'm listening to Jerry right now.
I'm listening to Jerry.
But he enjoys it more listening to postgame when they lose than when they win.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
It's much more interesting.
I've got a treat for you now. All you folks who tune in this show just for WNBA or not, we've got a good one today. Trust me, it's going to be fun. I enjoyed making this one.
Can't wait.
I don't know. Oh, man, it was late. Did I this up? Hold on. Okay, so we're going to do WNBA or not. Remember, last week, it was an epic comeback. We went, so 2 weeks ago, he went 5 for 5. We thought there was some funny business. I'm not saying there was. I know he couldn't have cheated, but I've heard a lot of people say there's no way that Uncle T could have ever gone 5 for 5. That's just what our fans have said.
That's probably true. I mean, I get that. I get that. That thought process at home.
They said
you kind of gave me a shoe in though. It was really like 4 for 4 because I did recognize Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it was like 4 for 4.
That was a gamble by me.
And also,
it was
my
a 50-50
thought process
gamble.
on some of these have been pretty good too. Like that girl in front of the hotel is like, look, she plays something. I don't know if it's basketball, but
no, I'll give you that 100%. So
all right, I guarantee a 3 of 5.
Okay, so.
Oh boy.
Number 1, here we go. WNBA or not. And last week I was going to say you did have an epic comeback. 0 for 2 to start, got 3 in a row.
To start here, we have Anthony Davis and Odell Beckham Jr. have a baby right here. It's the Odell hair. Bailey, turn around, see what you got here going here.
Do not. You can turn around and
some facial
don't give him anything. He's trying to read your facial expression. Okay. But if you want a second picture, I will give you one here because I think it's sunglasses on this one. Do you want a second look or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Same person.
Not a WNBA player.
Where's my notes? That is Shakira Austin of the Washington Mystics right there. Shakira is a WNBA player. And it has started off
such a fucking obvious one. He got me at the reverse there.
And what's funny here is, you know how I did this? Because I didn't want you to be able to figure out my mind in the order of this. So what I did was last night, I went, okay, I'm going to flip a coin. Heads is WNBA player. Not is a tails. And so I flipped it 5 times and did the order.
You shouldn't have let me in on that secret.
Oh, shit. Well, no, it doesn't matter because once you get the first one wrong, your mind goes in a blender and you're in big trouble.
I recovered last week.
You did recover last week.
3 in a row.
But you didn't recover on the second one. Let's see if you can get this one. Okay? Number 2. But my point being is this could be 5 in a row of all not, or 4 be 5. It could be anything because I just randomly flipped a coin for all of them. Okay, here's number 2. Number 2. It is a WNBA player or not. If you get this one wrong, you're in trouble, just so you know. You're in trouble.
That's not a WNBA player.
Damn, that was really quick. How did you know?
I just knew.
What you can't give me any logic there?
A lot of fashion. We got the choker on. It looks like it's like at some kind of a. She's obviously you blocked out the deal. It's some kind of like award show. It's an actress.
Yeah. So I took her. This is look. You can see I moved her.
Yeah.
And I put a background on it, and I tried to put a drop shot out to make it look real.
It's just definitely like like some kind of a red carpet shot with the pose there.
This is China Ann McClain. She's an actress. Yeah, that was the pose, the hip pose got it. That was dumb. I don't know what I was thinking.
Not an athlete pose there.
Sloppy work by me.
Really is.
Shit.
People at home can blame me for that one.
I don't deserve. I didn't deserve to get you on that one. All right, 1 for 2. We're 50%. Moving on. Number 3. Here we go. Number 3. WNBA player or not?
No.
Oh yes, let's go. That was simple. You were going on instinct here. That absolutely is a WNBA player. That's Bridget Carlton.
Fuck.
I was actually going to give you a second picture, but since you just...
Oh, that's bullshit.
No,
I didn't know I was... No, I'm taking the loss, but let me see the second picture.
Okay, hold on.
You have to let me know from now on if there's 2 pictures.
No, because what I do is I'll give you the first one, and if you want the second one, I'll give you it. Like,
well, I always want the second one.
Well, then, I don't think you would have gotten it anyway.
It could have helped a little bit. It's such a random... I mean, it just looks like some basic bitch's Instagram. And no disrespect to her, like, she's fairly pretty. Like, I'm not being a jerk. I'm just saying, like, it just looks like a normal Instagram.
That's where I got it from. I screenshotted her Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't even look like, my whole thing is, it doesn't even look, like WNBA, like, having them going somewhere. You just got 2 random, like, that might be a selfie there, and then the other one's like a wedding picture. I mean, and that girl could have gone to Alamo Heights for all we know. Who knows?
That's Bridget Carlton. She plays for the Minnesota Lynx and for the Canadian national team. Okay. Big one here. Can you get it to the 5th one at 2 for 4? You got to get this one. It is a WNBA player or not. And I don't have a second picture. Wait, do I? No, that's the same one.
Dude, this has got to be a WNBA player. I'm saying yes.
And he is going to go negative. No. That is not a WNBA player.
This is such a
you know how random it is?
Who is that?
This is a good one. This is Rachel Gunn. And she is the Australian breakdancer who went viral at the Olympics.
What's her name?
That's Rachel
Gunn.
Gunn.
I kind of recognize her, but I didn't. The outfit, she
is a breakdancer. Supposed self-proclaimed breakdancer, Olympic
athlete. Show some respect.
You didn't get. You didn't get that one, but I'm going to give you number 5.
Yeah, let's just see if I can get 2.
All right, this one. Can I make him go 20% today?
Probably. I mean, dude.
I was hoping this would be the last one for a positive negative.
Is there only one picture here?
Yep.
Man, that pose looks like she's trying so that it's a WNBA player.
That is a WNBA player. That's Natasha Heidman of the Minnesota Lynx as well. And unfortunately, even though you got that right.
If I was watching the championship series, maybe I would have known.
I told you on Sunday, well, I don't know, that was Thursday, that you should be watching the game and paying attention.
That just for the people at home know I keep it real. I don't watch the WNBA. I'm a hater.
That's right.
Through and through.
You're a true hater.
True hater.
You would have seen Bridget Carlton playing had you actually watched the game. Okay. All right. That's all for WNBA or not. We'll move on. We're going to go to some college football.
Devastating.
I mean, that's a tough loss. I mean,
I'm literally 50-50 the last 2 weeks.
I know you are. Yep. It's not looking good. After a 5 for 5, you've come back down to earth. You were on a heater, and now you're back down to earth. Okay. We're going to move on to college football here. And we got to talk about my Texas Longhorns who dominated the Oklahoma Sooners this week. 34-3. Texas still the best team in the country. But we have a debate with Quinn and Arch once again. And you talked about this, how, do you really want Quinn Ewers coming off of a 3-week layover in this game after Arch Manning has played really well? And we saw a rusty Quinn Ewers. And the reason I want to bring this up is less to talk about the Oklahoma game, because Texas dominated that game. And I know we're going to talk about it on the Pick'em show, but Texas-Georgia this week is a huge, huge game for determining.
What did the line end up being?
3.5 opened, and it stayed there.
I would have thought 4.
That's what I said too.
Yeah.
I said 4. And so I don't know if it's still 3.5, but that's what it was last night when I looked.
Do people really think there's going to be a lot of sharp money on Georgia?
Going into the week is what I heard, but here's the thing. What's the line right now? The fact that it hasn't moved. The fact that it hasn't moved and they're catching a hook there tells me that people are now reluctant after last week. Because, going into last week, what everybody thought is Texas hasn't played anybody, and Georgia had one bad half against Alabama, and besides that, they're still really good. But the reality, I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm saying that's the logic. The problem with that is, Alabama's clearly not as good as what we thought.
No disrespect to Vandy.
They earned the win. They deserved it. Diego Pavia for Heisman.
Yes. But
the reality is not Vandy. Alabama's not very good, right? They should have lost to South Carolina
These
this
are the
week.
points I was going to make. I was like, just look at the... No, you nailed it. That's what I was going to say. It's like, Alabama's clearly not as good as people thought they were. They won that game. Of course, they collapsed in the second half. I just think eyeball test this year, and we were on it last year where it was like, around this time, we were just like, Michigan has clear-cut the best defense in the country, and it's not even close. Now, I came off Michigan not because I didn't think they were the best team in the country in that game. I was just like, Nick Saban's going to find a way to beat them, and they really should. They really should have won. I mean, Alabama should have won that game.
Yeah.
But I do think that, if you play that game 10 times, Michigan's a better team. I think they'll win it 6 out of 10 or whatever. We were on it. Texas, from the jump, their defense, it's like almost like Michigan. Their defense is far and away the best in the country.
Yeah.
I think you stick with Quinn, and they will.
They will.
They obviously will. But he just gives you, look, he played in the playoffs last year. If you're really trying to win a national championship, he gives you the best chance. You may, Arch, listen, his upside clearly is, better than Quinn's probably. Most people think that. I believe that. But, if you're trying to win the national championship this year, you just stick with Quinn and rely on the defense.
Do you
hope
think...
he doesn't make big mistakes, which, look, he may be good for a pick a game, like whatever, but that defense, if that's all he's doing and he's throwing the ball around pretty decent other than that, Texas should win the national championship.
Yeah, they definitely should. Obviously, like we've talked about, the new college football playoff makes it difficult.
Yeah, you got to win an extra game.
Got to win an extra game. And like we said, even beyond that, regardless of what Texas does in the regular season, even if they go undefeated, if they end up losing the SEC championship game and have one off game, now they're not only having to win 3, they're having to win 4. They're having to play, because whoever wins the SEC, regardless of record, like they could play Alabama with 3 losses and Texas be undefeated in the SEC title game. That's unlikely, but Bama beats them, and now Bama is going to get the top 4 seed. Texas will be number 5 and now to play. So just the way the system is set up, it could happen.
In Texas, listen, obviously you don't want to play that extra game, right? Because, but Texas will be at home and roll whoever they play in that game.
They'll
but
almost certainly...
You still don't want to play that, right? You want the extra rest.
Because they'll almost certainly play the group of 5 team at home. The 5 plays the 12.
Weirdly enough, and people at home might disagree with this, but I think the best 2 teams in the country pretty easily is Texas is number 1, and I think Ohio State's the second best team in the country.
I completely agree with you on that.
They lost the game this week. The only thing that holds them back a little bit is Will Howard, but their roster, their offense, like their receiver, it's the first time I've really watched them play. It's like there's a lot of problems. What is it, Jeremiah Smith or whatever? And that guy's unbelievable. There's problems just all over the field. So I think if Texas was going to lose to somebody, it would be them. I think they beat Oregon on neutral field, whatever. Oregon, man, I forgot who was talking about it. I was like, that environment, it's a really tough place to play. And Oregon was up for that game, and Ohio State was still, a second away from at least having a 50-something yarder to, 50-50 of winning it, and had every opportunity.
If they don't call that offensive PI, they're inside the 20-yard line.
Yeah.
You're going to kick a 30-yard field goal to win the game. But
and I agree with you. I mean, we were going to talk about that a little bit too, but
let's talk about that game.
I agree with you that I hate the offensive PI call there. Because I hate that kind of stuff decides games. Yeah. I was happy because I hate Ohio State.
I do too.
Usually get the benefit of the doubt on those calls. So I was happy that one went the way for Oregon. I will say this, like I don't like the call, obviously, in that spot. He didn't push. It's just that he's a giant, big, strong, freak athlete kid, but he does move him out of the way. And like I said, I hate the call. I don't think it's offensive PI at all. I'm glad it happened. I love that Dan Lanning cheated and threw out a 12th guy. And I love that the guy on Barstool Sports, who's the Ohio State guy, has to eat. How many points did Ohio State score?
They scored 32.
So he has to eat 320 peeps.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so he was actually really funny. He's a diehard Ohio State fan. So at the beginning of the year, he listed all these punishments that he would do if the team's lost. And so there were funny ones. It was like, if Ohio State loses to, Akron, I'll quit my job immediately and I'll work for Barstool for free for 2 years, stuff like that. One was if they lose to, I forgot who it was, but it was Western Michigan, I'll drive a Bronco, because of the Broncos, like a OJ Bronco, and I can't go more than 35 miles an hour from New York City to LA.
Oh my gosh.
Funny stuff.
That's funny.
This is the Oregon one was, for every point Oregon scores, if Ohio State loses, I'll eat a peep.
Oh my gosh.
So the poor bastard was thinking.
Wait, for each point they score, they'll eat 10 peeps.
10 peeps.
Oh my gosh.
So I actually commented on that post the first day it came out, and I was like, good luck eating 400 peeps, asshole, or something. And I got a lot of likes. And then I went back and I was like, not too far, or whatever. Not too bad of a guess. And people were liking it, but he's pissed, and rightfully so. But he's a man of his word. He's eating them. I think he's got 150 eaten. And
he's eat them all in one day?
No. All these people were like, dude, you would literally die if you ate that many peeps in one day. Doctors were advising him, hey, dude, listen, eat the peeps, honor the bet, but you got to space them out. And he's like, even 100 a day is dangerous. It's just
diabetic
that much
level.
Sugar. Yeah. You could get diabetes essentially from eating these peeps alone.
But
the funniest thing about it is, so originally, the little Easter peeps have, I don't know, whatever grams of sugar and this amount of calories. But he can't find those anywhere because it's Easter. It's not Easter. It's Halloween. So the Halloween peeps are these bigger pumpkin ones, and they're double the calories.
And that's what he's
yes, because he can't find he can't get.
Oh my god!
So he's ordered online everywhere on Amazon he can the Easter peeps to eat. But yeah, I think he's got 100 and something of them down. But he was cursing people out on the internet last night. He's like, "Oh, you f***ers that say I'm not honoring my bet." He goes, I feel like I have a box of rocks in my stomach right now, and I've eaten 150 peeps. I can't eat 320 in a day. Doctors tell me I'll die or be a diabetic.
Oh my god!
I'm trying my best, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm surprised he's actually doing it.
Yeah,
but yeah, kind of back on this Oregon game, I do agree with you. Look, Oregon had a kickoff that they got to kick from the 50 because of a penalty, and they kicked it as hard as they could at a kid from Ohio State, and it was like an onside recovery. Very
smart play.
I've
never understood why coaches
don't
I'm
do
gonna
that
finish.
More.
You don't do that. If you get a 15-yard penalty, you should kick some sort of a modified onside kick, whatever it is. Because if it goes 50, you're looking at 10 to 15 yards of field position. And if they're not necessarily looking for it, you have a chance of getting it. But I love the one, if you have a kicker that knows what he's doing, that kicks the line drive at the guy.
I like doing that on any onside kick, considering how unlikely it is you recover one anyway. I kind of like that. You just pick a kid and you try to kick it as hard as you can at him and hope he either tries to catch it or can't move out of the way. Because 10 yards, you kick a kick really hard, it's hard to move out of the way.
Oh, no, for sure.
And if you catch it in the right
knuckler at him,
and if it hits him, then it's 50. It's probably more like 70-30. You're going to get it at that point. So anyway, but they picked up a possession that way. They had a couple of other things go their way with a PI call. We know they were in field goal range there. A couple of bad decisions.
They were at home and had to have a lot of things go their way.
That's my point, right?
For sure.
Had to have a lot. And so I agree with you. I think Ohio State, I came away from that game thinking Ohio State's the better team. It actually kind of reminds me of how we watched when Oregon played Washington last year. I came away from that game thinking Oregon was the better team, but Washington won the game. It's the same type of deal. But anyway, yeah, to me, to me, I would agree with you. The only thing I would say about Ohio State, and then we can move on to something else, is I hate their defense. Like, yeah, they have a ton of talent. They literally, I want to say they spent $30 million on that roster this offseason. That's how much their roster costs, which is crazy. Oregon spent just as much.
Phil Knight's trying to get a championship before he dies.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
He's on the record saying that.
No,
I'll spend any amount of money. It doesn't matter.
And that's why they went out and got all of these guys. Like,
that's why when people were like, Dan Lanning's going to go to Alabama, like, no, he's not.
Why would he ever go to Alabama?
He's got an open checkbook at Oregon. He can do whatever he wants.
Look at Kalen DeBoer in Alabama. Like, had they lost that game to South Carolina, he was about to get like murdered in his sleep. There were going to be for sale signs in his
Speaking
yard.
of Bailey, did you hear that video of the guy calling him the fine bomb, that legend guy? That was great.
Oh yeah, that's great. I got to try to get him on the show.
He's just losing his mind. We should have him on the show, and then we'll have Bailey talk shit to him.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Tell him we run the SEC.
But yeah, man, Ryan Day does this in every game though against a good team. His last 4 games against top 5 opponents, he's 0-4. Lost to Michigan twice, lost to Georgia in the semifinals, and then lost this game. I don't know how much longer he's there if they don't win a national title this year. Like, I would say they have to win or get to a national title in the next 2 seasons if he continues to lose games like this, especially in the regular season. Not saying that that's fair, but it is kind of fair when you spend more money than anybody else every year.
Sure, but they're going to get back on track with beating the shit out of Michigan this year. So it's like, they'll win that game. Not to say that saves his job. I'm just saying he has to win. I would agree that he needs to win at least a playoff game. I just don't. And obviously they're spending the money, so it's hard to say, how much. And they have the open checkbook pretty much policy too, obviously, that Oregon has. So I don't know what they would do, to be honest.
Well,
with
and
you.
I'm looking.
I just don't know who they would go get. Like,
I agree with you.
I don't think Vrabel's going to go back. That was the dream. Everybody's like, let's bring Mike Vrabel. He didn't want to deal with.
No, he's not going to
He's not going to do college.
That's the problem. Is you're not going to get anybody to come out of college who's not doing it now to come back because of the situation.
Yeah.
Not until the NIL deal gets resolved, all that stuff. But
maybe Nick Saban gets bored.
The reason, I doubt it. Well,
I
will say that on game day, Pat's on the table dancing and screaming, and he just doesn't look like he likes it that much. I'm just saying.
Well, he might not. This might be his only year. He does a pretty good job of it, but it's like,
no, he's good. I like him.
It doesn't, like, obviously he doesn't need the money. I think that it's somewhat of just like his, girls have resting bitch face. I think he just kind of is like sits there and has that. It's the stern look that he's got on his face. I don't think he's really not enjoying it, but who knows?
No, I don't think he's not.
I heard the kid nailed another field goal this week.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, the only reason I know
called him out, Kirk heard us, and Kirk's been holding it regular.
He probably has.
He heard us.
I don't know if that's 100% true, but I think it is because I saw on Twitter where some guy was like, Ohio State hadn't had a kicker that's made a 50-yarder and yada yada yada, and we have kids at college game day making $100,000 kicks.
I didn't know.
Could have been the kid at Cal, but I thought someone at Oregon made it too. I'm not sure.
They definitely could have. I didn't see it. My dad didn't say anything. Nick Saban's perfect hold helps Oregon student drill field goal for $100K.
Oh, Saban holding?
Yeah, dude.
No wonder.
I'm telling you, we called him out.
Yeah.
They saw my presentation.
Kurt's a cheating whore.
I mean, they saw it. And now Kirk last week held it normal, and now they made Saban hold it. I'm just saying. Okay, moving on. Let's see. We can go to winners and losers real quick in college. I'm trying to think if there's any other top things.
Arizona State was awesome.
Oh yeah, Arizona State 5-1, man.
Kenny Dillingham going crazy after the game.
It was awesome. That was awesome.
He seems like a good dude. I think people really like him. I think people really like playing for him. I think that he's gonna. I was actually surprised they got picked dead last in the Big 12.
Dead last.
I had because they actually showed signs of improvement last year. So I was wondering, like, how do they have them picked dead last? I mean, I agree that they've gotten lucky in some games this year or whatever, but they find ways to win and they play really, really hard for him. I think he's going to, and Arizona State does have enough money that is like, if he shows he can win, people start opening their checkbooks and letting them get some players. Dude,
Dillingham never played college football. He was a high school player and he tore his ACL his senior year and started coaching the JV team.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that.
And then became the offensive coordinator at age 21 there. And then while he was coaching at Chaparral, he went to Arizona State, became like a graduate assistant or whatever, and then basically got a job with Mike Norvell at Memphis and worked his way up. But that's what he was saying when he was.
Dude, Norvell's got quite the coaching tree going.
Oh yeah, he does.
And I like Mike Norvell.
Mike Norvell's not getting fired, and people who are saying Deion Sanders,
he's definitely not getting fired. But I just think I think it's funny how people are like going full blown hate on him. It's like, look, this just shows you what NIL is. When
100%.
you miss on a quarterback, and you have these kids that don't really care. Like, in the season, you start out 0-2, and then, like, the season's basically a failure.
Yep, and you look at, like, never before in the history of college football would you have a program with consistency at coaching where you go 13-0, and the next season you go 1-6 or 1-5. It doesn't happen because you don't lose your whole roster. After what happened to them, why would anyone want to go back to Florida State? That's the problem there. Anyway, All right, let's go quickly winners and losers, and we'll be done.
And DJ.
Oh, I know. I mean, that's the whole reason.
He's the number one problem.
That's the main problem there is the quarterback. But okay, quickly, we're gonna go winners and losers here, and we'll be done. So, biggest winners, I think number one was gonna be Arizona State for me, Kenny Dillingham. But
yeah, that's why I thought we were starting on it.
Well, no, that's fine.
Know.
We'll go.
Okay,
we'll go
next.
Number two. Let's go to Vanderbilt, baby. I picked them on the Pick'em show.
Yep, good pick.
They were my bet, one of my best bets in college, plus 14. They won outright, back-to-back upsets. It's their third win as a double-digit underdog outright this season. Beat Virginia Tech week 1 as a 10-point dog. Beat Alabama as a 23-point dog, and then this week won as a 14-point dog.
It's weird the respect Kentucky gets. Because,
I don't get it.
I think, look, I think Mark Stoops is a pretty good coach. I get that part of it. I like him. The defense is always pretty solid. But, like, their quarterback's horrible.
Yeah.
Their quarterback plays real bad.
Yep.
So to just be like, yeah, they're 14-point favorites is pretty wild.
I couldn't believe it. And that seemed like one of those lines where, like, when we saw Penn State.
What would it have been if Alabama beat them?
That's what I said.
17.5?
That's exactly the point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I mean, so that was like, essentially Vegas had to move that after that win. So it's like, what would it have been?
And again, that's I told you this when I texted you. I broke it down on my website where I give my breakdowns. But it's like, if you took the lines of the last 2 weeks of those like teams of Georgia, Bama, Kentucky, Ole Miss, all those teams, and you averaged it out, that line would have been a pick 'em. How did they arrive at 14? So because 14 would have been for home field, so they should have been a 3-point favorite. If it's a pick 'em, you get 3 points for home field. It should be a Kentucky -3. You're getting 11 points of value there if you took Vandy. Anyway, I don't know. I have no idea how that line was set. Felt like though, like where you were like, how is Penn State favored by 18.5 against Illinois a couple weeks ago? That's what it felt like, the same thing. But I was just like, I don't care. I think Vanderbilt's not going to have a letdown here. Okay, go ahead. Biggest winner.
My second biggest winner is Iowa State. I have them on here too. I don't think people thought that they were going to be, and I'll even make it a combo. It's Iowa State and BYU. No one expected that out of BYU.
Sure.
Iowa State, I think people thought were going to be a little bit better, but I've always liked Matt Campbell a whole lot, and he's going to be. It's funny because I legitimately think he's going to be. People don't know Iowa State does have money in the program, so like if he needs a raise or whatever, I think he's going to be like an Iowa State lifer, kind of like Keith Ferentz at Iowa. Like, I think he's just going to be like, oh, I live in Ames. This is the team I coach. I think he's going to be there forever.
He could have left multiple times.
Yeah, he's like, this is the team I coach. This is where I want to be. I like Ames. It's like this is, and like I said, they do have enough NIL money to be competitive. So, and he showed that. I mean, I think he's a hell of a football coach. There's a reason he was the youngest football coach in the league in NCAA when he first started out there. I mean, he's been there a long time. And then BYU just surprising everybody.
I think it's interesting. By the way, interesting line this week. UCF's catching they're catching 14 at Iowa State.
They lost Cincinnati?
Yeah, Cincinnati won.
Dude, they fell. Talk about a team that fell off the face of the earth. I mean, UCF, hadn't played like anybody great, but they look pretty good.
Oh, they did.
And they came back against TCU, which we both agree TCU is not good, and they probably shouldn't even won that game. But to me, it's Yeah. I couldn't believe that they were that just have fallen off that much anyway.
I think that the thing is that TCU is just horrible.
Oh, no, they are.
So it's like
they are.
That game, people were surprised because they beat TCU on the road.
Yeah.
But when you look back at how bad TCU is, and the fact that they were actually getting their ass kicked in that game for the majority of the game,
and then
came back late, they really weren't that good. And then they go play Colorado, who. UCF's problem is their secondary, and they go get no pressure on the quarterback, and Colorado threw it all over them and put up almost 50 points. They can't even get stops versus Florida. Like, now you lose at home to Cincinnati.
Bad.
Tough.
Florida, I mean, and like, I do think, especially the last 2 weeks, that Florida and Cincinnati, both those teams are, to be fair to UCF, and like I said, UCF's not very good. Those teams are a lot better than people thought. Like, Florida should have beat, if Graham Mertz didn't get hurt, they beat Tennessee, and Tennessee's frauds, obviously.
And
but I'm
Florida's
just saying,
4-2 at that point with all that schedule, and Billy Napier might keep his job. They win that game.
No, I know for sure.
It's a big deal. That's a big loss.
Yep.
No, but I completely agree with you. Also, I think the other partially why Iowa State and BYU, and those are both good football teams, but I think one of the big reasons why they're both undefeated too is, I will say, the Big 12, I think, is a lot worse than people thought it was going to be. Like they thought, now they had BYU finishing 3rd or 4th to last, and Iowa State finishing in the Iowa State might have been up there, but BYU finishing 3rd or 4th to last, Arizona State finishing dead last, and Iowa State was 3rd or 4th. All those teams ended up better. Everybody else seems like they ended up being worse than expected. So I think that's part of it. Like, Colorado's not good. Arizona is way down from what people thought.
I will say this, and I've been a noted Colorado hater on this show. The one thing, and they almost cost us the total we gave out on the Pick'em show.
Yep.
The one thing I will say that they're doing, and I actually think, I still think Kansas State wins that game, because it was, the ending of the game was kind of a recipe for how it was. Like, Kansas State took their foot off the gas a bit, but it was a recipe for how the game turned out. But it's like, obviously, Horn Jr. and Hunter went out.
Sure.
But my thing with them, and I'm obviously not high on them, but the last few weeks, or against UCF, who we both agree are not as good as we thought, but they've looked much better than they were earlier on in the year, in my opinion. And it's mainly on the defensive side of the ball. The offense is actually kind of stalled. But what I think happened is they're not very, and my brother kind of brought it up. He's like, well, no, when you're playing at altitude, you should be in really good shape. But Dion doesn't work those guys like that hard in practice. Yeah. They just don't. I mean, it's like we're sweating, or better, whatever. We got our Instagram handles on the back of our jersey, but, we're not very well conditioned. I think the biggest winner in that deal, where Colorado's not going near as fast, is the defense has time to recover and get a breather on the sideline. Because they used to go 3 and out in 10 seconds and punt it, and then you run them back out there in Boulder, and they're absolutely gassed. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, they've
that.
Looked way better the last few weeks, and I think that's because Colorado is like, they figured, it's like, look, we could go this fast, or we could give our defense a break, because they don't have a lot of depth on the defense side of the ball, but they do have some good players.
Yeah.
So...
Yep.
And obviously losing Hunter, who's, a playmaker on the offensive side of the ball, but probably going to be the first corner off the board, they think, which I believe he will be. So, losing him hurt. Not that Kansas State threw the ball a lot anyway.
No, they didn't.
They pretty much ran it the whole game.
Right up the middle.
Yep. But Colorado's defense has looked a lot better. So I'll give them a little credit on that, because like I said, we do like to hate on certain programs here, and Caleb Williams. So you know what? We got to give him credit.
Caleb Williams sucks, okay? By the way.
Jeremiah's going to love that. Dylan, I'm sure he'll be in the comments this week.
I hate Caleb Williams, and I hate Colorado, and Colorado sucks.
Listen, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I don't think Colorado is like, near the height, but what we have to keep in mind with Colorado is, like, there are some crazy people like my brother Trey that think they could win 9 games. But what you have to realize with Colorado is that their over-under in Vegas was 5.5, right?
No, I agree
So
with
if they win 6 games, I would, I know Dion wouldn't call it excess, and the people are like,
that's the problem.
Not the people calling the games. What's the guy's name that just drives me crazy that calls the game?
Is it Dave Fleming?
No, dude, it's the two. It's 2 black guys that call the game. And listen, when it comes to black announcers, I love, what's his name?
Gus Johnson.
Gus Johnson, I love.
And
Screaming, losing
can't
his
stand
mind.
now? Joe Tessitore is trying to be Gus Johnson.
Is he really?
Dude,
That's
it's
weird.
so annoying. And he is so bad. I used to like Joe Tessitore. He is horrible.
Weird.
Horrible.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him lately. But anyway, so we got to keep in mind that it's like, some people think they're going to win 9 games. Obviously not. But if they get bowl eligible, I would say that's a big success for Colorado.
It is, and they could. I was looking at their schedule.
I still have them under 6. I have a bet with my brother. I have them under the 5.5.
So I think I was talking to my uncle. He was asking me about them and how many games they have won and how many they'll win. And I was looking at their schedule, and I think it's going to be 6 or 7. That's my just looking at the schedule. Well,
here's the thing. I don't think. Tell me. Go through it.
Yeah. So now, hold on.
I'll just give you my wins and losses.
If they win 5, it wouldn't shock me at all. But it's just hard for me to see them only winning 1 the rest of the way.
Let's see it.
Because these teams are down to me.
Okay.
At Arizona.
I genuinely think that's a coin. It's a coin
toss. Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a coin toss. I think the line is 3.
Arizona's been a weird team this year.
Arizona's favored by 3.5.
Yeah.
Right. So
I would expect. Yeah, it's a close game.
Let's say we go by the FPI.
I'm gonna go loss.
Let's go by FPI. Okay. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So you say loss. I'll check that. So the fate. We'll go by who's going to be favored.
Sure.
Arizona's a favorite. That's a 1-0, or 0-1 versus Cincinnati.
That's another 50-50 game.
50-50.
Yeah.
Yep, 50-50.
So I have them. So let's just say they win one of those games. Okay, go on.
Win one of those games. At Texas Tech is probably a loss.
Texas Tech's going to run the ball right down their throat.
Versus Utah's a loss.
Loss.
At Kansas.
It's all going to come to. Is that their last game?
No, they go at Kansas versus Oklahoma State.
I don't think. I think at Oklahoma State they won't win.
Versus Oklahoma State.
Versus Oklahoma State, they could win that game.
See, that's the problem. Is
so
they get
more than
Oklahoma State and Cincy at home, and those are 2 of the weaker teams.
Yeah, I still think Oklahoma State. I don't know. It just depends. They still have
actually
Bowman back there throwing.
What?
I think they're probably going to win 6 games.
I
would put them at 6 wins, but I hope they only win 5. But I got screwed because of the Baylor game. Otherwise, it would be still looking good.
No, I agree.
Should have lost that game.
Should have lost the Baylor game, and they should have 3 wins right now. It'd be 3-3. But here's what I think. I think it actually comes down to these 2 weeks right now. If they lose this week at Arizona and then go and lose at home to Cincinnati,
they won't get to 6.
They won't get to 6 because then they'll lose. They'll have to win 2 of their last 4 to get to 6, and they won't do that.
I don't think so. Yeah.
But Anyway, okay. Let's go
to losers.
Let's go to losers, and I'll start with the team I just mentioned, which is Utah. And they lose that game to Arizona State, but it's more than Utah. It is them because they were projected to win the Big 12 this year, and they already have 2 losses in the conference 7 weeks in. But number 2, it's Cam Rising. He played in the game. Cam Rising played, and he was not 100%.
Oh, he was, dude.
He was 50%.
I can't believe they ran him out there. I was watching the game going, he can't. First of all, he came in, what was it, the thumb or something wrong with him? First of all, he couldn't hold the ball. And then early in the game, he got his ankle rolled up on.
Couldn't move.
And he couldn't move. I go, dude, is Wilson that bad that they're not putting him over Cameron? He could not. Dude, there was guys running wide open, and he would skip the ball into him.
I know, I watched it.
Why is Cam Rising still in this football game?
And that's
I could not believe it. I was like, Wilson, there's no way Wilson could be that bad.
That's the one reason I'm looking at this, and I know I'm going to be in the minority here. I think Cincinnati's going to beat Arizona State this week because they've kind of caught a couple.
Cincinnati's been playing well.
I like Cincinnati. I think they're going to win that game against. That's going to be probably one of my best bets in our pick.
They certainly could. The Rising deal. I was watching that going, why are you not you have to make a change. Like even if Wilson's not good back there, and I haven't seen him play much, even if he's not good, you have him better. Even if he turns it over, you have a better chance of him being able to make those throws.
No, I agree. For those of you who don't know, Zach Wilson's little brother is the backup quarterback. He started a couple games with Cam Rising out for Utah, and I don't know why they didn't.
But I mean, I just remember watching this going, like, waiting for them. Like, he skipped one in on, like, first down. I was like, waiting for the other quarterback to run out. He just left him in there. I was like, this is crazy. Utah, I do think it's funny because Cam Rising's never healthy. But if he was 100%, Utah's, I think, easily the best team.
They are the best team in the Big 12.
Their defense is solid, and their offense would be able to move the ball with them.
And they would have won their last 2 games, more than likely, Arizona State. But now you look at their schedule, and it's like, okay, they go TCU, Houston are wins, and they get BYU at home. That's a rivalry game. That's a huge one. At Colorado's a win. Versus Iowa State's a tough one. At UCF, they have to go undefeated to make the Big 12 championship game now. And who knows if Cam Rising's healthy this week against TCU.
No, God, no. Listen, the way he was moving, I don't know. I know they're going to try to get him right. The best chance is he getting like 75%. I mean, he could not move.
Yeah. I mean,
my biggest loser, Ole Miss, my Ole Miss Rebels.
That's bad.
Dude, I don't think I've ever seen Lane Kiffin more dejected in a presser. He's just like sitting there going like, how did we end up losing this game? It's like, he's like, we should be 6-1 going into our bye week. Now we're,
they really should have a good chance of being 7-0.
And he's like, now we're 5-2. It's like, now we have to win out to get in the playoff. Like, basically just, it was like a gut punch to him. And like, they should have won that game a million times over, and they just found a way to lose it. I know he did a couple dumb things. I don't put like that offense has got to be able to score more points than that on LSU.
Jackson Dart has been a huge disappointment.
Yeah, he hasn't been great.
He has not been good. And I mean, what
was Netzmeyer before OT? He was like 21 of 50, you said?
He finished the game 22 of 51.
Yeah. So how do you, you can't, if you're Ole Miss, you can't lose that game.
Can't lose the game.
Now I get it. It's like almost, it's even further than Mormon magic. It's Bayou magic at night. Like LSU does not lose games at night there. And so the whole time I was watching that in the YouTube quad box, I was like, Ole Miss is going to somehow lose it. You could just tell that when they just didn't, it was like, they didn't score a touchdown, so it's still a 4-point game or a 3, whatever. I was like, they're going to end up losing this game.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can tell you this. Lane Kiffin cost them the game. Lane Kiffin in coaching, it was, they had a 1st and 10 on the LSU 24-yard line with 4:43 to go, up by 4. If they
what did they do?
If they score a touchdown, they win. If they get 2 first downs, they win.
Yeah.
On first down, Jackson Dart ran for 1 yard. 2nd and 9, they threw. 3rd and 9 from the LSU 23, they went run and kicked a field goal. They ran the ball with no chance of getting a first down.
What was the down and distance?
It was 3rd and 9.
Lane was just trying to catch him off guard.
It was a bad, terrible, terrible call.
Because he usually, it's not his nature to just like shell up and say, let's take a 7-point lead. I just don't. I think
it looked like it.
Well, I know, but I would have to look at it because I didn't. After that, I was watching up until then. I just missed that possession.
So then on the next possession,
I was watching Ohio State
LSU needed a touchdown to go to overtime, and they got LSU in 2 fourth downs, a 4th down and 10 and a 4th down and 7. And on both of those plays, the defensive coordinator rushed 3 guys and dropped 8. And Nussmeier sat back there for 8 seconds and got the first down. If they did not do that, I guarantee you if they bring any pressure on him, the guy had completed 40% of his passes.
Yeah.
They win the game. They gave it away. And then I do think they missed an OPI in overtime, but Ole Miss is...
You're just talking about the last play?
The last play, which was the first play of overtime for LSU.
Never calling that one.
Yeah, they're never calling it.
He did push off just as much as Ohio State.
And that really was a swing game for Ole Miss when you look at it, because they're going to probably win their next 2 games, and they're going to probably win their last 2 games, but they have to beat Georgia at home now. They're going to have to beat Georgia at home to get in the playoff.
Which... they could do.
They could do it, but also they can't slip up anywhere else now. And it's like,
and they could easily slip up.
Too. And it's just, that's a real bad start for them into the SEC. 1-2 in the SEC. Anyway, okay. My other biggest loser, real quick, is going to be USC and Lincoln Riley. How could it not be? They were up 20-6 against Penn State, blow the entire lead, still have a touchdown lead.
I blame Colin Coward.
Still have a touchdown lead late. Let Penn State go down the field, converted a 4th down, scored a touchdown, tied the game, and then they had the ball back with 2 minutes to go, and all I needed was a field goal. And in 2 minutes, they got off 5 plays. The time management was so poor by Lincoln Riley. Ended up with a Miller Moss interception, and actually Penn State had a Hail Mary at the end to win it. And then Penn State ends up winning in overtime after a USC missed field goal, and then Penn State knocks in a field goal. But really, really bad loss for USC. I picked USC on the pick'em show. I couldn't believe I didn't get that one. That was the swing game for which of us had more picks correct in the week. But yeah, that was a tough one for USC, and Penn State did nothing to deserve that win. They had a couple of their touchdowns on the comeback were just miracles. They ran a flea flicker type pass where a fullback caught the ball in the back of a cornerback. Penn State's very, very overrated at number 4 in the country. But USC was horrible. That's my last bad.
Yep. Never been a big Aller fan. He's okay.
He's all right. You have any other ones?
Nope. No.
All right,
we're good.
We'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. Make sure to check out the Pick'em Show if you're new. Like and subscribe.
We've been doing pretty good on our picks, I think.
We've been doing phenomenal on our picks. We are, I believe, you've hit 2 of your outright underdogs.
Oh, man, and I
3-1 on the ATS.
I almost, they should have.
Won this
Virginia
one.
was right there. Yep.
Should have won Virginia this week. Really should have covered Georgia Tech. But 3-1 ATS with 2 outright winners. I am now, I believe, 12-6 on my picks, on my best bets. 12-6 or 12-7. And you've hit that total back-to-back weeks, that total of the week back-to-back weeks.
We'll have to try to find another one.
I think I looked it up. If a $100 better would be up like $1,600 if they followed our picks this year. So if you haven't tuned into that for some winners, tune in. Check out my website as well, where I give out best bets every week, both college football and NFL. And we got college basketball coming up, which is my specialty. So hope you guys enjoyed this video.
Happy Christopher Columbus Day. Man found the new world.
Thank you guys for tuning in, though. Episode 54 in the books. So we'll be back next week with episode number 5.